So growing up, my mom always referred to her potatoes as rustic. At least her mashed potatoes were rustic. They would look really creamy and fluffy in the bowl, but when you started to eat them, you would find lumps and some pieces that were not quite as tender as you would like them to be in mashed potatoes. To remedy this, she would often resort to using a hand mixer to whip her mashed potatoes, hoping that that would make them extra fluffy. Unfortunately, what happened was it would end up being gummy and almost paste like. So instead of nice, soft, fluffy, creamy mashed potatoes, we had paste with gravy. And this resulted in a lot of family dinners that used instant mashed potatoes just because they were foolproof for my mom. Now, don't get me wrong, my mom is an excellent cook, but for some reason, the thought of fluffy, soft mashed potatoes just kind of escaped her. And so it took me actually many years of trial and error to get the perfect mashed potato recipe that my family and I enjoy many, many dinners. So, according to dictionary.com, mashed potatoes are potatoes that have been boiled and crushed to a soft mass, often with the addition of milk and butter. And if you refer to goodhousekeeping.com, they actually talk about the type of potatoes that are good to use. You want to use potatoes that have high starch content. So, a russet potato like this, which has a really white colored flesh on the inside, or a Yukon Gold potato like this, which actually is kind of yellow on the inside. That's where it gets the gold name. Also in goodhousekeeping.com, you don't want to start your potatoes in hot water. Apparently, if you start them in hot water, they'll actually cook unevenly, regardless of how you've cut them. Uh, Potatoes are a really versatile vegetable or starch, depending on how you want to look at them. According to brianalbert.com, potatoes are used universally across the globe. In China, they're used for dumplings or in their stews. Italy will mash the potatoes and form a dough to make gnocchi. Ireland often will just either boil potatoes with their dinner or they will mash them and put them on an iconic dish called shepherd's pie. And Poland, people can be familiar with a favorite of mine, which is a pierogi, which is a dumpling that's actually stuffed with mashed potatoes and other flavorings. And most notably, Poland is actually famous for making their vodka from potatoes. To make your potatoes, you're going to need a large pot, depending on the amount of potatoes you want to make. You're going to need cold water, salt to either salt the water beforehand or to salt your potatoes at the end. You're going to need either Yukon Gold or russet potatoes, whatever your choice is. You'll need a potato peeler. You'll need a sharp knife, a colander for draining your potatoes, a potato ricer, which I will show you later, butter, milk, cream, garlic cloves, salt, and pepper. And I know garlic cloves might be a surprising addition to some, but it actually makes the potatoes very flavorful, and the way you cook them with the potatoes is actually pretty unique. According to bonappetit.com, you're going to want to wash your potatoes, peel them completely, and then cut them into 2 to 3 inch pieces. You want your potato pieces to be uniform. And the best way I found to do this was to actually cut your potato in half, cut each half in half, and then cut into a nice uniform piece. You'll also peel your garlic at this point and put it into the pan with the cut up potatoes. According to stock.com, the reason you want to actually boil the garlic with the potatoes is to take that sharp garlic flavor away. It actually mellows it out and makes it a little bit sweeter, kind of like if you had roasted it prior. So once you get your potatoes and your garlic in the pan, you're going to fill it with the cold water about a ½ inch above the top of the potatoes. Put this on your stove on high and cover it with a lid. Once your pan starts to get that rolling boil, you're going to go ahead and tilt the lid so that it's only partially covering. You want some of that steam to evaporate from the pot as it cooks. You'll you'll also reduce your heat to about medium high, depending on your stove. You're going to cook your potatoes about 30 to 35 minutes, and you want them to be tender so that when you stick a knife in it, there's no resistance, and that knife should come out with exactly no resistance as well. It should be just as easy. You also want to make sure that your potatoes aren't already breaking up into little small pieces. You still want them to hold their shape. You're going to drain your potatoes in your colander, and you're going to give them a quick rinse under some cool water, and you're going to actually return them back to your pot, because you actually want to take your potatoes and your garlic and put them back on the heat to dry them out. The more moisture that's in your potatoes, the more gummy your potatoes are going to be. Once you've got everything drained, during the time that the potatoes were boiling, you needed to take a small saucepan and put your butter, your milk, and your cream in here and just warm it up. You want it just to where the butter melts, but you don't want it to boil or scald the milk. It's better to add your ingredients hot to your dish and your potatoes rather than cold. And you also want to make sure when you're mashing your potatoes that you're doing it as hot as possible as well. So once you get your potatoes ready to go, you're going to take a bowl, and this is a potato ricer. It looks like a giant garlic press, and it's really a lot of fun to use. So you're going to take your ricer and you're going to open it up, and you're going to fill it up with those potatoes that are nice and dry now. And then you're just going to press it, just like you were pressing a clove of garlic. I usually have my husband do this because he seems to be a little bit more coordinated and has more hand strength than I do. But you can see the fine ribbon of potatoes that's coming out at the end. Once you are done pressing, you're going to actually scrape those potatoes off, and you're going to finish doing the rest of the pan. You want to get everything mashed. It doesn't really take too long, so just keep working at it. Whatever is left behind, don't add that back in with your potatoes, because then you'll notice it'll be a little bit chunky. Then you're going to take that melted milk, butter, and cream mixture, and you're going to add it to your potatoes. Now this is also kind of to taste, but the bonappetit.com recipe for their garlicky mashed potatoes gives you all of the amounts and measurements that you need. But you're going to go ahead and you're going to mix that nice warm liquid in with your nice hot potatoes until you get a nice creamy mash of potatoes in your bowl. Now at this point, you're going to want to salt your potatoes and add pepper. I recommend white pepper because it keeps your potatoes looking nice and white, but black pepper works just as good as well. If you choose to salt your potatoes at the beginning, understand that the starch molecules in the potatoes actually expand during the boiling process. So it's going to absorb the salt that you actually added to the water, which is why you kind of want to test the flavor in your seasoning before you add anything else. So we'll add our salt and pepper, and then we'll stir that in. So anyone can really make, fluffy, creamy mashed potatoes, and you don't even really need the potato ricer. It just gives you that little extra hand, but you can just mash them with a whisk or a potato masher. You can also make the potatoes your own by adding cheese, sour cream, cream cheese, chives, bacon, whatever it is that you find delicious in the potatoes. Potatoes are a perfect food, especially here in America. We like them for breakfast, we like them for lunch, and we like them for dinner. And they're just the perfect side dish for almost any meal. Let's not forget too, potatoes are just delicious. Thank you.